Okay.
All right, you good to go.
So I started in photography around maybe 2015, 14, with my first travels around Brazil by car. And I was always interested in camping and doing trails and being connected to nature somehow and getting to know like the the true Brazil, because what we live here in São Paulo is a city that's full
Perfect.
of influences from all over the world. It's not really Brazil traditional community. So I was always interested in that, and then I started doing big travels, like 2 months by car around Brazil, going up to Bahia, going up to Maranhão, and I realized that the camera was a portal, you know, as if it was connecting universes. And because of the camera, I had an excuse to get close to these people and talk to them and hear their stories.
Yeah.
And well, then I started portraying their stories like this with still
You
photography.
need an excuse, you fucking creep.
What?
No, I'm messing with you. I'm messing with you. I do that a lot. Sorry.
No, but it's different when you have when you have a camera and it's different the form that you engage this person. It's not like you're just a stranger coming to talk to them like randomly and asking about their lives. You're like, I'm a photographer and I'm doing this work about this place, and then you have something to start the conversation. And well, this really motivated me. So like my whole background comes from these experiences uh,
Definitely.
and how I say evolving, evoluindo is the word in Portuguese. But
Okay.
well, going further into photography with this, so I started doing stories of the Amazon, of Maranhão, of mainly traditional communities.
Okay.
And then, like last year, I was invited to start working with Revista Vai da Pé, which is the platform that we are releasing our latest works.
Okay.
And it's a collaborative magazine, online magazine nowadays, which focuses on São Paulo. And before this, all my work was focused out of São Paulo. Like I had to travel to do my work. And so this gave me the good opportunity to start looking at the social issues that we have in São Paulo and how to approach them with different views, and mainly how to amplify the voices of the people that I am portraying. And then this was my first works with video. And now I'm like, I believe more in the platform of video as a way to reach more people. I think that photography is, well, you can go really deep inside a photographic story because you have the one frame, and like this one frame makes you
Yeah, but with
imagine what's going around this story.
I feel like
But
also with the video,
sorry, go on.
sorry, my bad. But I feel like also with the video, you can like you have both audio and visual information. You're able to communicate at the same time. So it's you can on YouTube you can make like a 5 minute video and explain like relatively complicated concepts. Like you can simplify
Hmm.
so that an average person can understand. Where as a photograph, you would kind of need to explain under the photograph almost like what you know.
Exactly. And I think that photography, well, when you do a documentary photography essay, you're talking to a more specific public, which is most of the time it's more well educated, it's more intellectual. And like video, you have this tool that's it's accessible for everyone. It's, as you said, it's images and sound. So everyone will play a video and at least stop for 1 minute to see something. And if it engages them, and then they will see the rest.
Yeah, true.
But
Um,
but then I went to this project, the Moto Boys, which is the one we're here.
so yeah, speaking of that, I was about to. So basically, for people who don't know, like Brazil's food delivery workers are striking, and they're doing some pretty cool stuff. Like they're building barricades with the, I guess you would call it just we just call them food bags over here, but like
Bags,
Yeah,
yeah.
bags basically, and everything. And so I was just wondering, why are they striking? Like, what specifically, whether it's specific demands from the strike, and yeah, like some basic background on it, really.
Hmm. Well, the reason they're striking is because the apps that the delivery food apps, they they are actually doing like how to say trabalhistas, working contracts. Like it's that thing. It's kind of difficult to explain this in English. It's not my native language, but it's like they don't have a contract with their motorboys. So this opens a lot of breaches for them to like decide which price they will play for the run. And as they have a lot of motorboys wanting to do this service, they can give less money for the motorboys.
So it's no more money,
And
less money, kind of, is what I'm getting from this.
yeah, so they're striking basically because they believe that the apps they don't give them the support they need in their work, and it's like it's an abusive relation, you know. So the apps they can block the motorboys for nothing, and basically the apps they control everything in this business. The motorboys they have no voice and no power to set their terms, and the main goals of this protest is to establish a minimum wage for the run. It's like how many reais for the kilometer, and they want some healthcare along with the contracts that they will. Well, they want healthcare from the apps. They want insurance that if they hit their motorbikes, they will have some money from the apps that they're working from. So basically, is this like more working rights?
Okay. So just so you know, I understand. So what I get is that basically they're striking for a minimum wage of a certain amount, and they want to do it by like per hour or by kilometer. I think you said by kilometer, right?
By kilometer.
The kilometer. And they also definitely want hit insurance, which is really important. I want to get on that because it's the same thing over here even. Um, and sorry, like what was the other thing? Was there three things or just two things?
It's a minimum wager,
Minimum
health
wage,
insurance,
insurance.
and yeah, basic rights. You know, like they. I believe that the motorboys nowadays, the delivery workers, you can do a comparison to the
Because I was
to the
curious
first.
if COVID had anything to do with it. Maybe
What
the added risk of like delivering during COVID, like I don't know.
the risk of the work.
Yeah, with like COVID pandemic, you know.
Oh yeah, the COVID pandemic. Yeah, they want something like masks and alcohol gel and something that will
That's
protect them from the virus somehow
because
because
they're
they
not
are
working
the.
on PPE. That is important. You know. Yeah, but what I was gonna say too is it's very interesting because they're pretty much it's almost like legally they're just like guys on a bike with food, you know, and they have no protections of anything outside of that. And it's even the same up here. I think there's only one delivery company. I think it's Foodora. I'm pretty sure it's Foodora that has like insurance, like some like a very minimum like basic insurance if you get hit by a car. Uber Eats doesn't have it. DoorDash, which I work for, doesn't have that. If you get hit by a car, you know, goodbye. Pretty much, that's it.
Mhm,
If your leg gets better, happy to have you again. That's about it. Um,
exactly.
and you know, like people, I think we're cyclists here. I've seen guys like trying to unionize and everything with the IWW, and that actually made me curious about are those workers there considering anything like unionizing or anything like that to solve these problems, or is it more just like, you know, this is what we want. If you give us what we want, we just go back. Everything goes back to normal. Like, you know,
Well, they have unions here, but there are a lot of internal struggles amongst the workers. Like some of them, they don't like what the union preaches for. They believe that the union is a political tool to get them votes and put them in political cargos políticos. How I say that in English? Like political positions here in Brazil.
Yeah, just for political power, basically.
Yeah,
You actually
political.
clout over here.
What? Sorry.
That's actually clout. That's the OG meaning actually of that word. Funny enough, before
Yeah.
I first started saying it, like they're doing it for
So
clout in Brazil. That's crazy. But no, I see what you mean. It's a similar thing here too with unions now as well. I feel what you mean. What was I gonna ask? I was also wondering, what's the demographic that usually does motorboy work? Because here, people usually do DoorDash and Uber Eats are usually immigrants or like sons of, you know. I was wondering. I know that Brazil also has like similar racial disparity. So I was wondering if is this like a mainly black job? Is this a mainly whoever indigenous job, or is it like actually a job that just like anybody does, like because it could just be like a job for middle class kids that are just it's their first job, like how McDonald's is. And I don't necessarily know, so maybe you can explain that a little better.
now here, well, I think it's mainly black population that do this job, but not only. You have a lot of people that come from the peripheral areas here that work this job. Because as you said, it's a job that you don't need any qualifications to do it. You basically need only a motorbike, and then you're ready to do it. And that's like exactly what the apps want, because well, if they don't have any education, they don't have any regularization so that they can become a motorboy, it's easy to charge less for their work, So
Mm.
uh, that's a point that causes an internal struggle as well amongst the motorboy workers. Here in Brazil, we have the difference between the red plates and the gray plates, which is the red plates are the ones that have the regularization, and they are uh, like official delivery workers,
Okay.
and the gray plates are just anyone that bought a bike and started working for an app. Um, what was your question again? Sorry, forgot.
You answered it perfectly, actually. Yeah, you answered it very well. Actually, even broader than the scope of what I asked, which is good. Um, but my question was like, yeah, like what's the main demographic of moto boys?
Yeah,
And what you said, from what I understood at least, is that it's mainly um, black and uneducated, black and or uneducated workers and everything. And that there's even like a class disparity within the moto boys themselves, like where you have like your official registered moto boys that probably I'm gonna assume get more orders and get more opportunities than the gray play guys who just kind of do whatever. I'm assuming. Um,
yeah, exactly.
right? Yeah.
But it's not only like black and educated, because here in Brazil, in the peripheral areas, we have a lot of white people as well. It's just like I would say that it's a job that the poor classes get. It's not something that you see a middle class teen doing because it's his first job. Like it's at least from all the people that I interviewed, I haven't seen this. And I don't think that I will see.
Definitely. That's that definitely means a lot. Um, one thing I wonder is considering that there's like an obvious class disparity there, and it's like a job for working class people. I'm wondering. Hmm, actually, that's a bad way to lead into that. I'm just gonna straight up ask, who do you think is more like responsible or can do something about this? Like, are they trying to appeal to directly just to the companies? Or are they trying to get the government involved at all? Because like you have your president there, like Bolsonaro and everything, and I would imagine that from what I know, he's quite right wing. He'd just be like, yeah, fuck any like semblance of any union or strikes or anything like that. So, two questions I have is what has his reaction to this been, if he has had a reaction at all? Um, and what is the police response at these protests like? From what I've seen, they haven't really been too heavy handed, but um, oh, yeah.
So the president hasn't really said anything about this protest because we had the first protest, which was in the 1st of July,
Mhm.
and I haven't seen an answer from the president because he's really quiet these days because of a political uh, problem he had. Like, well,
Mhm.
he's all tied up because of irregularities in his campaign about fake news, and now well, the police is getting into a scandal which one of his sons was doing. We call it here dobradinha, which is like he contracts someone to work for him, but then he charges like half of the wager that he's supposed to pay this guy. Oh,
Yes.
and it's funny because this
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's funny because Jair Bolsonaro, like, he's a complete imbecile, right wing, extremely racist, and well, just a horrible person with um, horrible ideas that he spread. And the funny thing is that he elected himself as fighting against corruption because here we came from like three three mandatos, three, well, 12 years of PT, which is this political party here, and had a lot of robbery scandals in their government. And then Jair Bolsonaro, he took this anti-corruption speech as his motto for his campaign, and now we're seeing that
That's crazy.
in fact he is as corrupt as any other politician or even more, you know. So he's like really quiet these days, and he just got the notice that he has COVID, so like he has other problems. And
Yeah,
about
true.
the
He got COVID, and he was like saying like, "Oh, this isn't real. COVID's fake," and then he got the thing that he said was.
yeah, no, he's such an imbecile.
That's kind of funny.
It's like horrible. Everything about him is so horrible. He was like, "No, this is just a little flu. Nothing's gonna happen. We shouldn't wear masks." And then he even said that if he got the flu, nothing would happen to him because of his athletic
Oh my,
past.
that's funny.
And,
I'll kick
like,
COVID's ass if I get it, bro. You see how fucking athletic I am, bro? That's fucking
yeah,
hilarious.
it's horrible.
Oh my god.
It's so stupid. Like everything he says is so stupid, so easy to break down, you know, because it's just unbased in any facts. But anyway, going back to your question,
That's
the the paralyzation, like it's an organized. No, it's a big mobilization of people, but it's not a big organization in the ways that they don't have like really clear what they want. Like, okay, you want a minimum wager, but what's that wager? Okay, so you want healthcare, but how is that gonna happen? You know, I feel that this movement is happening without actual leaders to go and be ahead of it, you know.
definitely.
And like here in São Paulo, we have a lot of associations which are different from the union.
Mm.
And these associations, they believe that it's not their role to stay ahead of this paralyzation because they don't want to like ride on this political wave, you know, like
Yeah.
they don't want to benefit from this pure mobilization of people that are unsatisfied. So this is good in a way because they are doing a really honest thing on not taking the lead. But at the same way, it's bad because we don't have a leader for this movement. You know, it's an organized movement. So this is the problem. So I can't tell you like what they are doing in fact because from the people that I interviewed,
I'm saying.
I they cut something.
Sorry, and I was saying like from what you're kind of telling me, it kind of seems like they're not quite sure. Like not that they don't know what they're doing, but they don't know specifics of what they want. Like there's like a range of ideas, and they haven't really reached consensus, and they don't. So I see what you mean. It definitely makes things harder. And if you're going the route of appealing to the powers that be, you know that they have a million little rules that you need to follow before they even look at you, right? So
Exactly.
you know you know, knowing at least like what the specific wage is, what healthcare benefits you want specifically, whether that's vision, drug, dental, like, you know, very, very much vital to
For the
um,
success of the movement.
success. So that's yeah, ask after that. It's interesting you asked that because I'm wondering, is this going to be like kind of like the first of like many strikes in Brazil that you kind of see like that, where people just get fed up and they just say like, you know what, fuck this, like I'm just going to put my bag in the middle of the road and nobody's delivering food today. Like, you know, could you see maybe if they keep making cuts to education or to healthcare, could you see teachers maybe say like, hey, these guys did that, we can do that too, and you know, and also on that note, I definitely want to build off of that point of do you think that eventually they will just get organized, or from what you've seen, do you think it's just going to kind of be like it's a little too early to tell because it is quite early in the game still. You know, it is quite early.
Hmm. Yeah, I believe it's early, and they are doing a second strike on, I think it's the 25th. I have to check it, but they are doing a second strike. Like, if we don't get attention until this day, we're gonna strike again, and then again, and again, and again. So I really think it's going on. Like, we'll have a lot of next chapters to see of this story. But what you said about it not being organized and other workers like joining in. I don't know if you're aware, but in 2013 we had a series of protests around Brazil, which were like massive, and it started as a protest because of the rise in the bus ticket.
Mm.
I think it was like from R$ 3 to 320,
What's that in
and
Canadian or American? Do you know?
uh, at the time, I think the dollar was like two or something. So I don't know, from $6 to $7. Like, it was a small rise, but then we had
That still counts.
or
That still counts. Like even over here, I take the bus all the time. Like if it goes up from $2 to $3, that's just like it actually really does make a difference. Funny enough. So
yeah, it does make a difference for the poor classes. You know, it's really difficult to get around, and São Paulo is a massive city, like it's a monster.
mm,
So what happened was there was this protest because of the rise in the bus ticket, and then it took an enormous proportion because people just started going on to these movements as like, ah, and I'm against corruption as well, and I'm against the government, and I'm against teachers don't receiving so well, and then like all this causes they got stuck together,
mm,
and it happened the same thing, like no organization, you know, the movements that began these manifestations about the bus wages, when they got their objective, which the rise was taken out, so we got back to the number that it was before.
that's so
This
important to know that that protest in 2013 was successful because again, the narrative with protests is that they're for some reason just always unsuccessful, even when they are. So
well, yeah, because I wouldn't say that it was successful because
oh,
like
sorry, I shouldn't I shouldn't have said that. But I mean, that,
no,
I
it's because
agree. That's a too black and white definition of success. Like, well, they got what they wanted, but
yeah,
serves,
exactly.
actually, you know what? I should call myself on that because that actually serves the point of the other guy. Because then it's like they would be like, well, we gave you what you want, and then what next happens, and I want you to tell us what happens next.
So what happened was it was a partial success because they got what they wanted. This organized movement for the bus ticket. They got that they got the cancelment, and I don't know the exact word in English, but they got what they wanted. Like, they didn't rise the ticket.
Hmm.
But then it was not a success because all this movement, all this huge number of protesters, they were left with no organization. And then this took up some ways that the right wing in Brazil,
Yeah,
they took advantage of this
it's really
moment.
powerful in Brazil.
Yeah, they took advantage of this moment to go against the government that was ruling. And this was the beginning of what we're living right now, which is Jair Bolsonaro in power. You know,
Hmm.
we we got, like, we gave an excuse for this right wings to rise. And what happened was this protest began to have no direction. You know, it was just insatisfaction for the insatisfaction, and everybody felt that they had the right to be on the streets. And like then people started chanting the national anthem, and then like really close to fascism. You know,
That's weird.
in some ways. So that's why I think that the protests, they were not successful, because after 2 weeks of straight protest and like conflict with the police, this protest, they took a whole different direction, which it was
It's
supposed
literally the opposite direction because it's like, and it's so that is such a good thing, such an interesting thing too, because it literally shows how fascism can like take kind of like the raw dissatisfaction of the public and then
to.
make
Mm-hmm.
it means if they say the right things and be like, yeah, well, we're anti-corruption too, and besides, also we love Brazil. Unlike those guys over there, they fucking
Exactly.
just
Exactly.
look at what they're, you know what I'm saying, like in the you know, the rhetoric and the aggression and the, and then all of a sudden people have now a target, two targets now
Exactly.
for their thing. You know, those guys who aren't as patriotic as us, thank God I'm better. That helps me feel better as well. Ego's very important. We're all humans. And then, you know, the government who is actually just wrong, and that's just what it is. And you know, and it's funny because then in a way they actually convince them, well, actually you shouldn't take down the government because if we get in the government it will be different. I swear to God, it will be different. So then like it's so
Exactly.
weird. It's like a Jedi mind trick. They literally say like, nah, it's not actually those guys, it's only bad because we're not there yet, so we have to, don't burn that, those guys over there, because it's so crazy. And it's so crazy, man, because what you literally said is those protests in 2013 basically led to Bolsonaro taking power slowly. Like the distrust in like any left wing elements in the country slowly progressing towards the right. Literally, what made Hitler rise to power, right? Like
Exactly.
similar trajectory.
Like they found a mutual enemy. Like, and once you determine an enemy, it's really easy to say this empathy statements. You know, like, we are in favor of the Brazilian family and Brazilian tradition, and like this is completely empty. You know, like what are you saying? Which values are this? You know, because someone can have a idea of what are the Brazilian traditional families.
But what is that? Is that a Portuguese settler traditional family? Is that an indigenous Amazonian? And which indigenous tribe? Is it the guys, the escaped slaves in Bahia? Like who gets to be Brazilian? It's the same thing over here. It's
Exactly.
Canadian. Is it the indigenous people? Is it the white settlers? Is it everybody the white settlers dragged along from their colonies all over the world to supplement whatever slave resources they had at the time? Like
Exactly.
who gets to be American? When it comes to like the Western Hemisphere, it's so weird because the Eastern Hemisphere, it makes sense. It's like you're in Portugal, you're Portuguese. Nobody can take that away from you. Nobody can talk shit. That's your
Hmm.
country. That's it.
But here, it's we like, what's our identity? Our identity, South American identity, is like completely based on genocide, on the conquest, on imperialism. You
Damn,
know,
you
and
too, bro. That's crazy. You guys, you guys fuck with genocide too. That's crazy, bro. Oh, that's sick. Sorry. Fuck.
no, Brazil is like the idea that we have, the concept that we have of Brazil and Brazilians is a complete lie, because all our history was, it began with the genocide of the indigenous people that lived here, you know, and the Portuguese settlers, which exterminated the indigenous population here. They came with, again, a very empty statement. We're doing this for Christ, for God, and this is the will of God, you know. And like we're killing indigenous not because they are mean, but we're killing them because we're showing them the way of God. And if they don't want it, well, then they're our enemy.
I mean, they're
And
definitely showing them God in one way. I don't know about the other way, but
yeah, exactly. Exactly. So like I said all this just to another example of how empty speeches, they can, you know, be very horrible for societies. And this is what happened here in 2013, like a very superficial analysis, but that's kind of it.
no, I think it was pretty. Shit, that was actually kind of extensive. I don't know, superficial, but no, that was yeah, man. That's kind of. I think the only question I have based on the protest, and I'm very glad we got to talk about Brazil generally too. That was really nice. But the only question I think I have on the protest still is, so we're just gonna straight up like assume that like this is gonna end like here, and that it's gonna become in the future become more organized, and people are gonna, people aren't as stupid as they're taught to think they are. They will figure it out. They will. Some guy is gonna lead, and like I feel like those things will fall in place. But once they do fall in place, once their demands get more specific, and once the government finally starts listening, um, what do you think is going to happen after they do, if, after their demands are met? Are we going to see something similar in 2013 where the government's going to be like, oh, maybe, or some shitty element in the government will be like, oh, maybe we can use this to our advantage, kind of like what you were saying. Other elements are pretty much already trying to do. Um, or do you think that, I hope to God, maybe, hopefully, that some people in Brazil may kind of see that and may decide that like, no, we're just going to keep this like, us, and reform our own party, even if we need to, or reform whatever we want to do. But what like what do you see for the future of the Motoboy movement?
So it's really difficult for me to predict this because like I believe that I'm not in the place to speak for them. You know, like as I said in the beginning, like I believe that my work as a photographer and now as a cinematographer, uh, which makes documentaries, is like to enhance the reach that of the voice of these people. Like my work is a platform for their words, for their speech to reach more people. So, well, I can only say for like my own thoughts, I cannot speak for them, but I believe that what will happen, what should happen, is stricter rules and regularizations for these workers. Like for you to become a motorboy, you need to have done like motor classes in a driving school, and you should have a motorboy license to do this work because, well, this will decrease the number of people that can get this job, and consequently it will raise what they can charge for their job. You know,
Exactly.
because like right now the what I realized from all the interviews and the talks I had with these workers is that the apps, like it's a false premise that the apps they contribute to more work, you know, because these guys they receive so little for their work that they are the new kind of slaves, you know. It's very close to the first industrial workers in the industrial revolution. Like they worked because it was the only option they had to put food on their table, but it was horrible wages, and they just kept doing it because it was the only thing that they could do.
Exactly. Yeah.
And when you see the larger picture, you realize how the apps they are contributing to a rise in the accidents we have here in São Paulo. Because like now anyone can work as a motorboy, and they work like 12, 15 hours straight. And like if you don't have education how to do this work properly, like how to drive in São Paulo, well, you are going to get in an accident, man. And in the apps they do something horrible, which is like, well, they rate the motorboys, you know, like let's say I'll try to give you an example. Um, these motorboys accept a run that they have to do, and they have to pick up the package in one area of the city, and like they have 5 minutes to get from the point where they are to the point of where they should collect the package.
Oh, true. That's different. On my app, there's no time limit, so you actually, if you're active for 15 minutes, they give your thing to another order. But I've taken like sometime I'm on a bike, I'm not on a motorcycle, so
Hmm.
it take me 20 minutes to get there. I've never had, so that's an important difference to know.
Yeah, and like if you don't get there on time, your work's going to another person, and then you lost the gasoline, you lost the time, and then, well, this makes the motorbike just run as shit, you know, like they need to really be quick. to get there. So they are always like running against the clock and taking risks that they should not take. And then in comparison to last year, we had a rise in like around 40%, 35% in accidents
Jeez.
here in São Paulo because with COVID, a lot of people lost their jobs and a lot of people recurred to the apps. Like, well, you buy a bike and then you can work, you know? So it's kind of this relations.
I see. And yeah, that's definitely something important to note is that like the conditions at these the conditions of the work literally directly have contributed to a 40% increase in in accidents, not taxes, sorry, in accidents in like a city of like how many people is in Sao Paulo? Like 30 million? Like there's tens of millions of people. Like there's a lot of people there.
A lot of people.
That's a major, you know, do you I hope that we see something about this like more mainstream, man, because that's definitely a big thing to notice. That's people's safety, you know. And the
Exactly.
only thing that people that's all they have to do to make it safer is just not put it the time limit. All they got to do, you know, it's already been done. So, you know, that's one. I don't know. That's my 2 cents. Whatever that's worth in your currency, but but you know, that's kind of that's crazy, man. Like, yeah, I don't know. Do you have I think that's kind of it, man. I think we covered a lot, and I really want to thank you, Luis, for coming on here, and you know, I fuck with your painting, in the back. That's cool. Um, and is there anything you want to like plug in or talk about before we wrap up, or
uh, no, I think we really got it covered. Like I would just like to say,
like anything about your documentary or your work, or
yeah, exactly. Like I'll just say that we're coming up with this new work, and it's gonna be a film about this moment about motor boys. And well, here actually had a lot of films that started popping up about the theme motor boys. And then we decided to do something different instead of like talking about the whole scenery and like datas and
mm,
like a broader vision. We decided to focus on three particular stories of motorboys in the search. Like our objective is to humanize these workers and like put faces into their struggles, you know.
really?
So like this is the way that we're going with this film, and I hope that we can release it as soon as possible. And just it's coming out. Someday it's coming out.
Hey, all right, okay. Um, yeah, thank you very much.
It was
This
a
is
pleasure.
yeah, thank you, appreciate it. Bye.
Great, man.